I've knocked this into place now. That's closed up there, so that's where it should be. So I want this. I don't want that to go that way. So, and this piece of timber goes into the wood there, as earlier you saw. So I think what I'm going to do is use these 16mm, this 16mm bar here, to just so that I can use a wrench. It's called an American spanner in English, I suppose, adjustable spanner. Now the reason why I'm not going to use these 30mm pieces is I think it just cuts too much of the wood away. I don't want to use smaller screws because they don't give you enough purchase in the fibres. I mean, I could have just used ordinary 8mm screws, like 120mm long, and that would fix it, but I want to have a little bit of lateral strength. So I want a good bit of fibre length there. It's a good idea to pull these corkscrew drill bits out before they get stuck. Just go all the way in there. Because if you don't and they get stuck, it's I mean, it's not too bad at that size. It's a little bit. A little bit on the loose side, maybe, actually. Right, so that should give it a little bit of strength, and then the next one, I'm going to use the thin screws. One further out this way, I'll put it on a different set of fibres. So the big one is doing the job of holding it in place, and the two small screws are stopping it from loosening up, because it was actually could have been a bit tighter really. It's just an ordinary PVA glue. It doesn't need much, just to keep it from drying out, dropping off. There's not very much keeping that on, but this is kind of, you know, it's not giving it very much structural strength, but it's better than nothing. And need a wedge root. Just wedge that up against there. Just kind of replacing the wood glue that was there, keeping it together. Again, they're not very strong really. It's more a matter of it's being the combined strength. Really, these are supposed to be quite a bit longer than this. Into some fresh wood there. Then I'll put a long screw in. It's partly just to help with the gluing, just so it doesn't fall off. glue surface that broke. So you see, when that's glued back on again with the PVA, it's really no different to how it was before I started the job. It's certainly no better, but it's really no worse, which is good enough really. That's a hole I can now plug. It's not perfect, but it's a judgment call in a way. I think it's as strong as it was before I started the work, which is to say it wasn't very strong. It's still not very strong now, but you have to put it in perspective. All of the other parts, you know, none of it is very strong. It's 100 years old. And I'd rather do minimal work now, and you know, if it fails later on, you can do more work. But I mean, there's no point in putting in too much at the wrong time, you know, because if you had that attitude, there'd be nothing really much left of the house. There's so much damage here and there. So this is like a repair rather than a kind of complete restoration. But that's, as far as I understand, that's what the job is. Repair. So I've lifted up this wall and I've taken out this piece of timber. And my next project today is to make a couple of little trestles to do this next bit of work on, because I'm going to put this new piece of timber and cog it down onto that one. This piece of timber needs to come out, that bottom piece. I'll worry about the rest later. So in order to do this, I'm going to measure the distance from the outside edge to the wall at both ends on both pieces of timber when I've got them up in place, and that way it's just a matter of cogging them directly down through the vertical axis, because they'll be parallel to the house, so they'll fit when they're put back in. I think once I've got these cogged together, I'll worry about cogging that other end together. It has to come out as well. copy the same style as this. I usually take these cheeks here straight down, all the way down, but they've, on all of these on this house, they've stopped and made a slope up there, so I'm going to copy that. Actually makes it more difficult, but there we go. There's another piece that goes under here as well, but I've taken that off. 8 centimetres. So it's a Rowlands loft, as I called. 8 by 8 centimetres on the top there. So I'll just do the same thing here, but I don't know. There might be a little bit too schlock, it's called, a little bit too low an angle. I think it needs to be higher angle. Look at the old ones. None of them are like that. Normally you do the line scribing after you do the lofting, but in this case the line scribing had to come first. So it's the line scribing that decide where these cheeks go to 0. So they have to be 11 wide at the point of intersection, which is there. And I know where the point of intersection is because I drew these lines on before I took the piece of timber away. That's the vertical point. So I think actually the line of intersection is going to be further in than that. So it's not going to be here. It's more likely to be somewhere between those 2 points. I want it to be around about there. Well, I can't really say why, I'm just kind of guessing a bit really. That's where the chinning is supposed to reach. And actually that's quite good. So I'm going to use that one. I don't think it needs to go down any further than that. So, as you can tell, I must have hit something with my chain because it's completely blunt. There's that old nick there. Obviously I don't get rid of nicks like that on the building site. There's nothing wrong with the rest of the blade being sharp. like to be able to put that there, but I can't because of the thing that's holding the house up. So this is kind of what these axes are designed for, luftebile, as they're called. Luft is the name of this cogging in Norwegian. And although I do use them for hewing, that's not really what their main purpose in life is. Not sure about the triangle guy thing. Oh, it's quite good though. I suppose it makes it more mouse proof maybe. I'll do that with a stem yarn. What's that called in English? When I'm working on these houses I just think in Norwegian, so I have to translate when I'm showing you. Stem yarn is called a chisel in English, of course. So I mean, I often get a bit tongue-tied when I'm working, and that's because really I need to concentrate on working. I don't really like to talk when I'm working. But if you want to learn something about how to do this, if you're interested in learning these things, how to do them, a little bit of explanation can help a lot, really. So I will carry on talking a bit when the spirit takes me, or I've had enough coffee. So check the cheek is straight, both in that direction and that direction. That means it's straight across the thing. I mean, I can see that with my eye when I line my eye up on it. This piece of timber is slightly twisted in the wall. It's like the old one was, and it was also a bit more twisted, so I'm going to leave it like that. I'm not going to try and straighten it up. I'll leave it like that in the wall, and then when I make these, when I make the shape the head of it, I'll change the orientation of it visually. But I can't twist it further around that way because of the beams for the floor that are in the way. So I'm just going to let it be like that. And use a strap for the rest. It's just a bit too heavy for me. too heavy. So I just need to spend a bit of time getting the red piece of timber there completely parallel with the house, and the new piece of timber also completely parallel with the house, and then I'm kind of ready for doing the marking there. I'm going to do it very tight because I want to do the final adjustments in the house, not outside it, because I'm not quite sure of the orientation of each of these pieces of wood. So I do it very tight to start with.